I'm not sure how to start this journal. This whole trip is something I'm still trying to piece together. I'm gonna try and be honest, not just with what I've learned from the university as a performer, but also from this trip personally. So, this year, I spent almost 3 weeks with my friends in the capital city of Yogyakarta, Indonesia. A city renowned for its arts, its culture, its great food, chaotic streets, and the Institute of the Arts, ISI. But before that, I spent a lot of my summer break worried if I was ready for my final year at NAFA. I didn't know if I was enough, and if I would still fit in my class. I didn't know how to fix myself, and I felt like a total mess. Upon reaching the airport to set off, I was apprehensive to say the least. I had visited Jogja once when I was younger, except back then, the biggest thing I had to worry about was homework.
My life is boring. My uncle decides to bring me to Indonesia. I tell myself to be open and ready for anything.
Immediately upon arriving, it's a culture shock. The streets are chaotic. Street art blasted across the walls of barely maintained shop houses. Power lines stretched across the sky like veins. You don't wait for a traffic light like you do in Singapore before crossing. You simply run. The same disorder lives at the university. I was so used to NAFA, I couldn't understand why they would just let their university lie there like that. It's a philosophy that bleeds all over Jogja. I remember how young me felt about this.
Although it is crowded and messy, people are friendly and relaxed.
I guess the Singaporean in me is used to order, and when I notice messiness in a city or in my own life, I think something must be wrong. At ISI, there were 4 main categories of traditional art we were going to perform: dance, Ketoprak theater, Gamelan, and Wayang Puppetry. Initially apprehensive to try new art forms, I found myself loving learning with my class, hoping for more. I especially enjoyed using the drum in one of my music classes, trying to keep count of the rhythm and the choreography, which was a rewarding challenge. I also found myself working in certain movements I learned in dance class to my own performance, especially big gestures. We all also got to try voicing Wayang puppets, which was incredible. Imagine a Wayang puppet dancing to hip-hop. It surprised me how fun being pushed out of our comfort zones and learning new art forms as a class was. A few days into the trip, we got to watch professional Wayang puppetry at the Keraton Temple, and even take a tour inside to learn about local culture. I was in awe, and the Indonesian in me felt proud. Later, we visited the legendary Prambanan Temple, huge structures supposedly built for Roro Jonggrang. It made me feel so small. It took me back to when I visited Borobudur Temple.
I've never seen anything like this before. There's so much detail in the carvings.
Nothing like ancient temples to make you feel like a kid again. We also went to Paper Moon Studios, who operated out of a nature-reclaimed brick house on a back road, but had the most incredible puppets I had ever seen inside. Hardly glamorous living, but it seemed like a wonderful life for an artist. They held lunch, a workshop, and performed for us. It was one of the best days of the whole trip. I knew that I wanted to bring as much joy with my art as they did with theirs. After classes, I would spend a lot of time by myself, but also with my friends. They often asked me out, even taking care of me when I was sick in the second week. I ended up having swim parties and movie nights and everything else in between. It felt really nice that even though I felt like a building under construction, they still treated me with so much love. In theater, I was the genie in the story of Roro Jonggrang and Bandung Bondowoso. The lecturers at ISI gave me free rein with the material, never telling me what to do even when I asked for tips. I didn't even have a script. It was suspicious initially because I would go up, act, and then look for approval, and partially due to the language barrier maybe, they would simply thumbs up and we would move on. This was very different from the structured step-by-step learning at NAFA. So instead of shaping my performance on feedback, I had to trust my instincts. This different style of teaching scared me. Some days, I worried I hadn't done a good enough job. As the performance date neared, I feared I would let everyone down, and I began to question my own worth. One night, my teacher said that maybe the lecturers let me figure it out on my own because they knew I could do it. I remember their friendliness, smiles, pats on the shoulder, and realized that even though they hadn't told me what to do, they had actually been supporting me the whole time. It hit me then that even though my lecturers and my friends believed in me, I had to trust myself first.
Welcome to the collaborative performance between Nanyang Academy of Fine Arts and ISI Yogyakarta.
For the shared justice or expand exploitation.
And so, I played a genie who broke the rules and yet still honored the story. I knew I had to approach it with respect. It is a legendary folktale. The genie needed to let the audience in on his jokes instead of mocking the whole thing. If anything, he needed to respond to the gravity of the situation. The most important thing was his chemistry with Bondowoso, so I chose to play him like the irresponsible yet ride-or-die older sibling, even calling him by his first name, someone that would be fun to see interact against Bondowoso's stone-cold bravado, but that wouldn't get irritating over time, because he actually cares. When the play was over, I remember feeling relieved and proud. I told myself that I didn't need to be fixed to be enough.
Now, thinking back, I'm sure everyone was as nervous for this trip as I was. And yet, I could not have explored a more beautiful country with a more amazing group of people.
Now I know that life is not about homework and studying. There's so much life can teach me. But for now, I have to go to school.
So, with my final year at NAFA approaching, I might not feel ready, but in a way, that's kind of exciting.
There will always be ups and downs, days where I feel lost. But if Jogja has taught me anything, it's that just because something is messy doesn't always mean that there's something wrong with it.
There's a necessity in embracing imperfection, and that when you're with the right people, you can end up with something pretty beautiful.